All right, Debbie is back. Debbie Cox DeNova, and we are having good vibes time here at HTV. I'm all my warm-ups ready to go. And when I came in and I saw the topic, I'm going, woo, here we go again. Secrets to lasting love.
Yes. And just full disclosure, I'm on the tail end of a divorce myself. So I'm approaching this topic as a student, not an expert, very interested in the secrets of lasting love. And it's an amazing topic. A lot of this research comes from Helen Fisher, who is a senior scientist over at the Kinsey Institute, and John Gottman of the John Gottman Institute. And they've done extensive research on what it is that has couples staying passionately in love over the long haul in a long marriage. So first of all, there are a lot of us who are not actually in a marriage. And so there's some research that we need to know about going into picking a partner and actually thinking about being in a long-term relationship. And that is the fact that biologically, we are designed when we start a relationship to bond quickly. And that is, of course, necessary for reproduction. So we have this neurotransmitter dump. You hear a lot of people complaining like, oh, so amazing in the beginning, and now the fire is gone, right? And that's because in the very beginning, we get this nice hit of all these neurotransmitters. We have dopamine, which is associated with addiction, right? It gets that feeling of addiction. There's serotonin that makes us ruminate about our partner and has us sort of feeling like we're obsessed in our thinking. We have oxytocin. So if we're in touch with each other, having sex, orgasm, it's that cuddle neurotransmitter that has
LaRue wrote a
bonding.
song way back when called I'm Addicted, Baby.
Yes. And so it's like all of these experiences, vasopressin, which is associated with stress, there's a certain amount of stress with that comes with this as well. And the problem is that this is all the very primal parts of the brain. And in the meantime, there are parts of the more evolved part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, that shut down with reasoning and long-term thinking, which is why in the very beginning, no matter what the difficulties, it could be a long-distance relationship, they could be married, your mind tells you somehow we're going to work this thing out, right? And you get
I'm in love.
Yes, you get this halo effect, which means basically you're so hyper-focused on the positive that it's spilling over into areas that otherwise you might see as deal breakers without these neurochemicals. So the greatest advice comes from Helen Fisher, which is that you need to go slowly whenever you are knowing that this experience is going to be amplified and you're going to be under the influence of all of these chemicals. It's important to take it slowly in the relationship so that you can allow those neurotransmitters to sort of subside, come back online and see what you actually have. And research really shows that the best, we talked about this before, the best thing is to find someone with similar values. Yes, opposites attract, but over the long haul, the more similarities you have, the less compromises you have to make, the easier and better it is for you long term.
That's cool stuff.
Yeah. And then
Did you ever get a DWIL?
What's a DWIL?
Driving while in love. Just made that up, folks. Okay,
I love it.
All right.
So, yeah, but there are things that you can do, according to research, that can keep that neurochemistry going so that you have those deep, passionate, romantic feelings over the long haul. And they've actually done fMRI study or scans on couples who are were married at an average of 21 years. So not only married for a very long time, but still had those intense feelings of love. And one of the biggest predictors of whether or not a couple would last the long haul and still stay in love is the absence of contempt. So they found in the most bonded relationships, there was less contempt, or that if there was contempt, they got over it very quickly. Contempt is like sulfuric acid to love, according to John Gottman. And not only is it bad for love, but they were able to take video of couples talking and turn the sound off and watched the couples, and they counted the number of contemptuous facial expressions, and it was an excellent predictor of how many infectious illnesses the receiver of those contemptuous expressions would get over the next 4-year period.
Wow.
So it actually lowers your immune system to be the recipient of contempt.
So you want the flame to burn slow.
Yes, you want the flame to burn slow, getting into the relationship. At least 2 years is what Helen Fisher says. You want to see 2 full cycles of how do they handle.
But how do you
things.
stop that when you're getting all those emotions and you're going, oh, I'm so in love, and you're going, but I got to slow down. Debbie told me to slow down.
The way that I see it is that you can enjoy the hit of neurotransmitters.
The lust.
The lust, exactly. You can enjoy that while also remembering that in terms of love and romantic, like not making decisions about your future yet with this person, knowing that you don't have a very clear scope in the very beginning of who this person is. You haven't oftentimes had enough experience to know, how do they show up when things are difficult in your world? How do they show up when life gets tough? To Helen Fisher's point, if you take 2 years, a 2-year cycle, you see them all the birthdays, holidays, all of the difficult times. Are they actually compatible with you, or was this just nature sort of bonding you superficially?
We were always taught, how do they treat their mama?
Yes, very, very important. And so instead of creating an environment of contempt, the antidote for that really is cultivating a culture of appreciation. So really being able to amplify the stuff that works and overlook the stuff that isn't. And when you're in a disagreement or when things are getting tough, to treat the conversations with kindness. So gentle conversations. The best couples really were able to say, I really like you the way you are. I love you the way you are. And will you change?
Billy Joel, I love you just the way you are.
Yes. And will you change, right? Making the request. And it's not about not arguing, not fighting, because couples do fight. It's the way that you do it. Is there contempt or not?
They've just met the perfect person.
Yes.
According to them.
Right.
1 month goes by. Well, they still pretty good.
Right.
2 months go by. Still okay. 3 or 4 months later. Why are you not with your girlfriend anymore? We didn't see eye to eye.
Yeah.
Takes time, doesn't it?
It does take time, and it really does take a lot of work. Unfortunately, in our culture, we believe that the right kind of love should just be easy. And the reality is we don't have that scope on literally anything else. Like if you have a business, you know that if you take your hands off the wheel of your business is going to crash. Unless you have an investment of energy on an ongoing basis, you really are going to have a decline and diminishment in the experience of whatever it is you're talking about. And love really is no different. In fact, it's the arena where we can actually see a lot of our own issues and either choose to work through those issues together or to project, deflect, create battles with each other. And so there are some really key things that you can do to sort of bond together to make sure that those neurotransmitters keep coming, that you're feeling more bonded over time, investments into the relationship. So sometimes your friend may be that your friend was not compatible with the girl. Sometimes it may be that they just stopped putting in the efforts to continue the bonding process, thinking that original lust should continue over the long haul if it's the right thing. And that's
It's got to be easy. If it's too hard on either side, they hitting the exit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So here are some things that you can do if you're in a relationship that you see for the long term. First of all, sex. Sex is a huge part of a healthy relationship. It not only drives up the dopamine, but it also the oxytocin. It creates bonds. It drives up testosterone, which makes you want it more. So for those people who are saying, well, I just don't have a sex drive, if you start doing it, your sex drive will actually probably increase. Then also novel experiences. This is really important for dopamine. Do different things. And it literally can just be, biking to a place instead of driving in a car, reading books to each other, going to a different restaurant. Novel experiences are really great for driving up the dopamine. And then also staying in touch. So that physical touch is really important. So holding hands, cuddling, her putting her foot on his foot underneath the table, things like that will actually
create
footsie, right? It creates this oxytocin, which again is that bonding neurotransmitter, the cuddle neurotransmitter.
Yeah, you see people, I see couples, they've been together since 30 or 40 years. They still hold hands, and you can see the guy rubbing the girl's hand. They're still in love.
They're still in love. And there is a key. John Gottman is interesting because he's done 3 longitudinal studies, and he's able to, within 30 minutes, predict whether a couple is going to stay together or not based on asking them very basic questions like, when did you get married? Describe how it was. And, how were your parents at marriage? How does your marriage compare? Very basic questions. And based on the answers that the couples give, he can determine whether or not they're going to stay together. And a lot of it has to do with are they actually, in the hard times, are they able to create a new culture together? So when children come, for example, or other transitional life events that change the scope of the relationship, are they able to create a new culture together so that they're still on the same page, they're still connected? Are they able to handle disagreements gently and kindly? Are they able to stay friends through the process? One of the things, there's two things that he found with men who lose their marriages. The number one is that they are showing low emotional intelligence in terms of like creating a map of what their wife likes or loves, right? Knowing what's important to her, who her people are, what her dreams are. But they found that the men who were interested and invested in what was important to their wives actually stayed married longer. The other thing is that the men who were very resistant to influence by their wives actually lost their marriages quite, because it's a give and take, right? So women are naturally more influenceable. They're open to influence. Where the men, if they were, for example, unwilling to compromise if they have a meeting or something like that, and the wife asks them, and they're like, "No, that's cheap. You know, that's your problem." Those were the ones that actually lost their relationships the most. So it really is that reciprocal give and take, that being able to compromise and also to enjoy and experience the other person for who they are and what's important to them.
Let me do this. I'm going to hold this up. Then I'm going to turn to Debbie with this. I want the people in the audience to see this. I wrote a word under there. Now go to Debbie real quick. I want to get a reaction when she sees this word.
Trust. Yes.
Trust.
Yes.
It's all about trust, isn't it?
It is trust. And for women especially, we talked about this, how safety and security is a really important thing for women. And a lot of that has to do with perceived trust. Can I trust you to be someone who sees me and still accepts me? Someone who is going to stay faithful when my back is turned? All of those things matter and create this culture of appreciation. There should be 5 to 1 in terms of positivity. So for every negative comment you make, there needs to be 5. For every negative experience that you have, there needs to be 5 positive in order for it to be a healthy relationship, according to research.
Honey, you look great in those fat jeans. That's not one, right? You cannot say that to a woman.
That's not one.
Yeah, you got to maneuver past that. So if you're watching at home, don't say that. All right? This is great stuff.
Yeah.
So what are you going to talk about next week so I can sort of get mentally prepared?
I never know. And I am open to suggestions. So.
This is cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I know everybody's watching and going, they're breaching a lot of tough stuff.
Yeah.
But it's good stuff.
It's great stuff.
All right. Thank you, Debbie.
Of course.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back, and I can't wait to see the topic next week. All right. We'll be back after the break. Don't go away.